Who says electric vehicles can't be exciting? Well, Hyundai is about to turn that all upside down because of this one, the first ever Hyundai Ioniq 5N. And guess what? It's coming to the Philippines and we're getting to drive this first right here in Barcelona, Spain. Born in Namyang, Hyundai's R&D center in South Korea, honed and raised at the Nürburgring, Hyundai N vehicles are never just about the drive. It's about being fun to drive. Each Hyundai N vehicle has three pillars, the so-called N DNA: corner rascal, everyday sports car, and racetrack capability. The Hyundai Ioniq 5N is no different. Now, electric and high performance are two automotive concepts that lie opposite each other, but Hyundai took it on themselves to find a balance between the two. Do not mistake high performance for high power. Fundamentally, it's easy to make a high-powered EV. Simply have monster torque and monster horsepower and you're ready to go. But to make something truly high performance, it's about making all that power consistently and constantly usable. Fusing skill and insight from every corner of Hyundai, there was a singular goal in creating the Ioniq 5N: to create the world's first high-performance EV. Well, I'm no stranger to the Hyundai Ioniq 5, basically because I chose it as my top pick last year. Now with the Ioniq 5N, Hyundai's pretty much amped it up in terms of sportiness and of course in terms of the way they've done it all together. The basic Ioniq 5 is still here, but they've added some sporty elements. But guess what? All of these are functional. None of these are just here purely for design alone. These are all designed for better cooling of the battery, and that's important because for consistent racetrack driving, you'll need that. You get things like the forged alloy wheels at the side. These are 21-inch in diameter and it weighs just as much as the regular 19-inch wheels that you get in the regular Ioniq 5. So amazing how Hyundai was able to do that. The orange-red stripe here in the center and the sides, and of course, the trademark performance blue color. These make the Ioniq 5N a real standout. Now, in terms of proportion, it may seem confusing for you in the sense that the Ioniq 5 is about sized between a Santa Fe and a Palisade. So 3,000 mm of wheelbase. But guess what? On the track, we'll get to prove that this car is as nimble as any sports car or supercar out there. Aside from that, 650 horsepower, 770 Newton meters of torque. It's got all these figures that actually make it a venerable sports car or supercar. 0 to 100 in about 3.4 seconds. That's as fast as a Ferrari Roma. Top speed, 260 kilometers per hour. That's the fastest of any production Hyundai. Now, one of the things that I actually like about the Ioniq 5N is that it's the first Ioniq 5 to get this, a rear wiper. Now, a lot of people don't actually talk about that, and that's one of the small complaints I have with the regular Ioniq 5. So I'm just glad that Hyundai was able to fix that this time around. Every part of the Ioniq 5N has a purpose, and the integrated and intricate bodywork here improves cooling and performance. It's longer, lower, and wider than the standard Ioniq 5. It also happens to hide a heavily revised platform with 42 additional weld points and 2.1 meters of more structural adhesives. Reinforcements have also been made to the steering column. So now after we've seen what it is outside, we're gonna take a look at what you can find inside. Great as the Ioniq 5N outside, inside it keeps the same sporty and dynamic character. Now, for those who are used to the Ioniq 5, it pretty much gets the same dashboard. There are a couple of changes right here, and for example, things like center console has been changed. It's now fixed. The dynamic island, the slidable center console here has been fixed for the Ioniq 5N. Aside from that, its own special gauges, special modes integrated right here in the infotainment system. And what I like is that Hyundai was able to integrate all sorts of controls onto the new steering wheel. Now, I'll be talking more about that much later on, but what's important, you get two N buttons right here, one on the left, one on the right. Those have its own separate functions. The N Grin Boost, which propels the vehicle to the maximum horsepower and torque that's available, selectable drive modes and all that. Now, what's amazing about this car is that, again, 650 horsepower, but it's got space for 5. And what I can say is that you can't find that level of practicality in any other vehicle out there in the market. And Suffice to say is that if you're looking for a sports car that can do the grocery run or can do the airport run, then this car may be for you. Fulfilling the pillar of everyday sports car, the Ioniq 5N delivers a surprisingly supple ride on the open road. Thanks to its electronically controlled dampers, you could say that it's just as comfortable as the base Ioniq 5. And oh, because it packs an 84 kilowatt-hour battery, it can go up to 448 kilometers on a single charge. Charging from 10 to 80% can be done in just as little as 18 minutes. However, a push of the steering wheel mounted N button and it can turn fun and ferocious. Petrol heads have lamented the lack of feedback in many EVs, so Hyundai has equipped the Ioniq 5N with things like N-E-Shift, which mimics the shifting of an 8-speed dual clutch, and N-Active Sound, which creates an engaging sensory experience using its 3 distinct sound themes. Now this is a hint of what the Ioniq 5N could do, something that can only be unlocked truly on the racetrack.
Now this is a circuit that I haven't driven in my life, so I'll have to say that experience plays zero part in this at all. It's going to be the capabilities of the car more than me, because I suck. I'm a sucky driver, especially in the racetrack, so we'll see what this car can do. Well, the first thing I can say is that it doesn't feel its size. It's quite nimble. As in, it's surprisingly nimble. This car is just so surprisingly nimble. This reminds me of a sports car. I mean, I could conjure up images of like a Porsche 911 in the way it tackles through the corners. It's fairly quick. I'm doing like 110 and there's grip like there's no tomorrow right here. And it comes to the braking, it's amazing. I mean, you don't hear any tire squeals at all. You don't, it's, oh my goodness. This car is like a cheat mode on wheels. Holy and all my stuff is flying around. Man, I'm literally like code brown in my pants right now, because I don't think my abilities would match the capabilities of this car. If ever, the car I'm reminded this of, well, I have to say it right now, but the car that reminds me of is like the Nissan GTR. But this one doesn't feel like a sledgehammer at all. The way it drives, it's just so silky smooth. Oh my goodness.
No, behind me. Just in one row, one line. I like to explain the setup and how to do. I will bring my car to the desired spot on the more or less the end of the
all I can say about this car is holy my god, this car is I'll explain it later, but my god, this is like holy sh holy crap, man. Yeah, this video is gonna have a lot of profanity because oh my god, that's just how I feel about this car. Oh my god, if there's a car that breaks the laws of physics, it's this one. 2.2 tons, 3-meter wheelbase. It's an SUV or a crossover. It has performance that can beat a Ferrari. My goodness.
But besides the larger discs and 4-piston front calipers, it cleverly uses regenerative braking, a unique trait found in EVs to its advantage. At its peak, its regenerative braking offers a decelerative force of 0.6 G. Not only does this help feed power back to the battery pack, but it also preserves the brake pads and discs.
Top speed 260 kilometers per hour, the fastest of any production Hyundai. But you know what? At the end, that all doesn't matter. You know what matters? This car is a beast. It's an all-electric, tire-eating, track-eating monster. And my goodness, this is what the future is all about. If the future is electric and the future is still about high-performance cars, then you can see the amount of emotion and passion that Hyundai engineers have actually put in the Ioniq 5N. And I can't wait to actually see the launch and feel the launch of the Ioniq 5N and the other Hyundai N models that's coming to the Philippines real soon. But all I can say is this is one hell of an experience, and I just have to thank Hyundai for giving me this opportunity to drive the Ioniq 5N, a vehicle that's coming to local roads and to terrorize racetracks and beat the hell out of supercars real soon. So again, the Hyundai Ioniq 5N may be great in the spec sheets, but that's not so important because at the end of the day, it's all about the three pillars that they put up for themselves. It's about being a corner rascal, race car capability, and of course an everyday sports car. Those three things combined just makes the Ioniq 5 a great vehicle. I am just lost for words.
Now, we had a great time driving the Hyundai Ioniq 5N right here in Barcelona. And just before we flew out, it's been confirmed the Hyundai N brand is launching in the Philippines real soon with the Elantra N. This one, the Ioniq 5N, will follow towards the end of the year. But of course, I'm all excited to be able to drive this on our roads, but I hope you enjoyed our sneak peek.